Now, by the time we get into the 6th century, we start to see the Virgin Mary becoming more and more important in the Christian faith. Before this, she's just sort of a carrier. She's the mother of Jesus, but she only acts sort of as a vessel for his birth and to take care of him until he is going to reach the age of majority. That's going to change as we get into the 5th, 6th, and 7th centuries, as the Virgin Mary takes on a more and more important role within the church. And we're going to see that with the development of something called a Theotokos. Now, the Theotokos, and you can see the spelling on screen, is an image of the Virgin and Child, sometimes called the Madonna with one D, Madonna and Child. And in this case, we're actually looking at a 6th or early 7th century version. This is one that would have come out of either the time immediately before or right around the same time as we see iconoclasm starting to take effect. And here we see the Virgin and Child, and you're going to notice something unusual. First of all, the Virgin Mary doesn't appear to actually have a body. She appears to be a sort of shape of fabric with hands and a face sticking out of it. That's very common because the Virgin Mary is really tricky when it comes to iconography. Iconography referring to the study of images. But in terms of iconography, she's very difficult because she's a female and they don't want to have men sinning with their minds with the Virgin Mary. So therefore, she loses almost all feminine attributes and she becomes much more of a spiritual figure where the body is irrelevant. The Christ child is also important because the Christ child is going to slowly become something different. He's going to look like a child on occasion, but that's going to change. And this is because he's going to become what's known as a homunculus. A homunculus is a Greek term for a tiny, perfectly formed human. So you're going to see Jesus looking like an adult who happens to be the size of a 1-year-old, a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, doing things that children of that age should not be doing. Now this is an encaustic painting. It's painting with wax. We see some Greek and Roman tradition here, especially in the angels in the background. And we have Saints Theodore and George, probably closely tied to the monastery where it was found. Now, this piece survives because it was found in the Sinai Peninsula. So being in such a remote location is probably why it got through the iconoclast crisis that we see in the 8th and 9th centuries.